Are there any metrics you like?
Yeah, the metric that I found most effective at Pages during our war room time, we were already late, trying to get it done. This is from Jim Hammerly, who's VP of Engineering. And he would simply track on a weekly basis the ratio of the number of new defects found versus the number of defects closed. That ratio was less than 1, then we were moving towards shipping. If it was greater than 1, we were finding more defects and we were closing, then we weren't moving towards shipping. That's probably one of the few metrics that I will simply recommend, but it's a metric that really comes into play towards the end of a project, and all you're trying to measure is your glide path. Are you gliding towards completion, or are you going? And the nice thing about that is that the defects closed also includes defects deferred. So you can, if you're not quite there, you say, okay, we're starting to defer defects, and by doing that, we're going to ship buggy software. We always ship buggy software. But we know we're on a path there. Okay. You guys sit through a lot here, but hey, you signed up for a 2.5-hour class. So get used to it.
You want to take a roll between lectures?
Oh, thank you! Because I would have just gone on, and then I would have made you sit here while you were all anxious to leave. Okay, usual disclaimers. Daniel Allen.
Here.
Caden.
Here.
Alexander Boswell.
Here.
Tyler Bowers. Benjamin Carlisle.
Here.
Lillian Carlson.
Yep.
Jacob Carter.
Here.
Felipe Centeno.
Here.
Jacob Carter.
Here.
I called. Y'all there? Okay. Okay, Logan Christensen.
Here.
It's getting harder to look over. I've got it. Adam Clark.
Here.
Joshua Coctrell.
Here.
Ken Collins.
Here.
Brandon DeBlatter.
Here.
Nicholas Dixon.
Here.
Michael Gardner.
Here.
I apologize if I'm munging anyone's names. Austin Gardner.
Here.
Zuleika Guzman.
Here.
Mark Hall.
Here.
Alyssa Haraldson.
Here.
Thomas Hill.
Here.
Samuel Hoffa.
Here.
William Honey.
Here.
Trevor Howell.
Here.
Kaylin Hunter.
Here.
Jared Iverson.
Here.
Ju Young Jeong.
Here.
William Jones.
Here.
William Keel.
Here.
Rohit Qatar.
Here.
Kevin Liu.
Here.
Trevor Lyman.
Here.
Zach Magleby.
Here.
Benjamin Marker.
Here.
Robert McFadden.
Here.
Emily Menden. Was that her name?
She had to leave early.
Okay,
So she was from
that happens. Daniel Mercer. Dan? Patrick Mock.
Here.
Dylan Moe.
Here.
Conrad Nelson. Jordan Nielsen.
Here.
Ji-Hoon Park.
Here.
Oops, and I skipped someone, sorry. Matthias Pacheco. Is that here? Brian Peterson.
Here.
Matthew Pope.
Here.
Michael Pratt.
Here.
Tyler Rasmussen.
Here.
Rebecca Red.
Here.
Dakota Richardson. I think a lot of people took 4-day weekends. Gavin Robertson.
Here.
Clark Sandholz.
Here.
Nathan Schertz.
Here.
Tatum Sims.
Here.
Jacob Smart.
Here.
Skylar Smith.
Here.
Brandon Tweed.
Here.
Philip Farner.
Here.
Santiago Verdu.
Santiago.
James Wheatley. Man, a lot of people took me long weekend. Tanner Jorgensen.
Here.
Rachel Young.
Here.
And Gabriel Zapata.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
You call me.
What's your name?
Right.
Actually, I did call you, but I was calling you while I was
Okay.
doing Jacob.
Okay.
You're marked.
Very cool. Did you call Jacob twice then?
Ah. Okay, Peopleware, and then we're done for the day. Part 3, the right people. Get the right people, make them happy so they don't want to leave, turn them loose. Okay, that's pretty much the lecture. Seriously. Now, I marvel after 40 years how few organizations seem to realize. Some do. And by the way, with all the lectures in here, don't get me wrong, there are great places to work out there. They may not all be perfect, but there's a lot of great places to work. There are a lot of places that get this. Problem is there's a lot of places that don't. And part of what I hope you get out of this class, particularly, how many of you are still in the process of interviewing for jobs? I hope, particularly the stuff here out of Peopleware, will help you to look around at the places you're interviewing and saying, is this where I want to work? Recognizing the realities of life, you may not have a choice. You know, I have had jobs that I didn't particularly like. I usually didn't stay in them terribly long. But sometimes jobs are a handy stepping stone. And here's the advantage you have. This is particularly advantage over, me 40 years ago. So it didn't stop me from job hopping. Back when I was graduated, you know what the inflation rate was? 15% a year. I job hopped just to keep from losing ground. Just to keep my salary at pace with. Well, there were other reasons behind it too, but that was a nice excuse. Nowadays, if you stay too long at a company, people start to look at you like, why did you stay there 5 years? Were you not good enough to be hired away by someone else? So, yeah, I like working there. It's a great place, which you shouldn't let that cause you to leave, but the basic thing is if you get into a job and you realize after a month or two or maybe a day or two, this sucks, pull the ripcord. Go find another job. It actually, in this industry today, it won't hurt you. Okay. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but there is this disconnect. Someone talked about the conflict between management and engineering. I had it's probably in my files, cartoon published in Datamation, which is sort of a big corporate IT magazine that was around 40 years ago. That really summed it up. You had this executive taking a visitor on tour of his company. He's saying, well, here's our accounting department. Everyone's there, busily working and punching at adding machines. And, here's our sales and marketing, and they're on suits and ties, and they're talking and so on. And they finally walk by, and there's these two big doors labeled IT. And he said, well, is that your IT department? And the guy's kind of like, yeah. He says, can I go in? And he opens the door, and there's one guy in a beard in a lotus position, some incense burning, and some guy throwing a paper airplane. And, the stereotypes are there because they've been around for half a century, okay? Management doesn't, this gets back to negotiations and love songs. The suits don't trust the geeks. And the geeks think the suits are just stupid. And there's actually a reason for both of those. So, but the truth is that management doesn't understand the software process. They think it's manufacturing instead of painting pictures. And they don't get why you can't just deliver that code on time each time. Yeah.
Is there a way to like fix that animosity, and would you recommend doing so if there was?
Well, yeah, you should. First is, and here's my advice to you, you need to learn to talk business stuff. You want to succeed, you want to have a happy career, study business organization. Learn what they care about. Well, yes and no. I mean, they have a very real, and as I've said, one of the best educations I had in my entire professional career was at Pages, where I had to sit as part of the senior staff every week and have the CFO go through the spreadsheet and say, we close our doors on this date if we don't cut the costs and or get more money. You tend to get a very hard-nosed vision about what business is. Wayne Holder, the one who hired me to go do Sundog, started his own software company and so on, said, in college, he said, I was a flaming liberal. He said, I started my own business, and he said, I became something to the right of Attila the Hun. He says, and it's all because of all the problems in trying to run a business and all the ways in which the government gets in the way. He says, I want to hire people, and it costs me more money to hire people than the people are worth. Because the government says if you have 11 employees instead of 10, you have to start doing this and doing this and doing this. Yes?
My brother was sharing with me about how because minimum wage where he lives keeps going up, they have to pay, the money they have reserved to give raises to their skilled people are going to their lowest paying employees instead of their
Best employees.
Best employees.
Yeah. When you run a business, and this by the way is another reason I think all of you should try and be involved in or do a startup at some time. Trust me, it will teach you a lot about the real world. And what people will actually pay money for, what it's like to actually furnish an office, staff it, what you have to pay, things you need to do. It is a great education in economics and real marketing. They talk, and I'm not going to recap the whole book here. You're supposed to be reading this. But here's, how many of you in job interviews have had the, okay, based on this phone book, how many pizza parlors do you think are in the city? These puzzle type questions.
Like related, but yeah.
And it's like, I think that's just stupid. I want to know, can you learn this language and can you build this kind of stuff? That's all I care about, Well, actually, I care about more than that. I care about your ability to learn, so on and so forth. I think this, and I think it was Google and Microsoft that really pioneered the whole, we're going to give you these brain twisters and see what you say. It's stupid. It's stupid. Let me tell you here, it's stupid. I won't even condition that. It's a stupid way of hiring people, and you will lose good people if you take that approach. At Pages, our process was to have have any candidate talk to all the engineers, and we all came together and we all had to agree on her or him. Because we were a team. We had to all be convinced that this person would fit into the team and would contribute. And we were the ones who made the hiring decision. On the other hand, and I think, Alyssa, I think you talked about this, there are some aptitude tests that may be useful to make sure the person actually knows what they're talking about. And this is I think, more a problem now than it was 30 years ago. I had, 4 or 5 years ago, I had a company ask me, said, we have these 2 candidates. We want to replace this consultant we have, who's very bright, very competent, but we want a full-time employee. We have these 2 candidates.
Were you the consultant?
No, someone else. And I had no skin in this game. That's why they asked me. I was independent. It didn't matter to me one way or another what they did. They said, can you do us a favor and do a screening of these 2 and let us know which one we should hire? And I talked to both of them. And this was really my first real not my first experience, but it was a real direct experience of, okay, they've got these resumes, they look good, but you know, when I poke them, it's, you know, I'm sticking a toothpick in, it's not coming out clean. I'm just not getting that they are, I do baking.
Human being, of course it's not clean.
I'm just not getting that either one's a good fit. And finally the CEO came back to me and said, okay, who should it be? And I said, well, actually, you know, they seem generally bright, their resumes look good. He said, but frankly, the ideal would be sort of if you could somehow meld these two together. I kid you not, said, okay, we'll hire them both. It's like, no, I wouldn't do that. They did. They hired them both. It didn't work out. You can't take two inadequate candidates and make an adequate candidate between them. But the CEO literally thought he could do that.
You're gonna need some gene therapy, but yeah.
Playing well with others, they talk about, yes?
So a lot of what the book talks about is like interviewing from the perspective of management, and a lot of that makes sense. But what kind of take should we have for it being like the interviewees?
How many of you, and you don't need to raise hands if you don't want to, but you can if you want. How many of you had the experience of working with someone at school or at work or in some other setting, and by working with someone I mean another coder or whatever, who talks big but really, really didn't know what the hell he was doing? Okay, well, I'm getting some hands. Yeah, okay, I'm getting more hands here. That's pretty much it. It's what you want to do is you want to talk to them long enough. You know, if I was the chief architect, I knew I had all these other brilliant engineers who were gonna ask them some probing questions. So my questions were usually geared towards how's this person going to work under pressure in a startup environment. But you know, part of it is you start asking them about their background. What did you do here? What did you do here? What did you do here? What was this like? You know, what was the trickiest part you had here? What problem did you have to solve here? And you know, I don't have a checklist for you, but you're just sort of probing until you either say, boy, this person really knows what she's talking about, or boy, this person really doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's blowing smoke. And that was sort of the feeling I had with these two candidates. It's kind of like, well, you know, they talk well, they have the nice answers, but I really wouldn't hire either one. But each one seems to be missing. And like I said, the CEO said, "Oh, I'll hire both of them." It's like, no, you don't want to do that. And he did, and it didn't work out well. Yes.
I really liked what they were talking about the university where they taught the students to have their portfolios and just actually point out like parts of code and things like that. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. That is a way as a candidate to kind of own the interview as well.
Well, it is, and I like that. You know, the candidate shows up and says, here's actual code I wrote. Okay, how many of you have looked at other people's code and said, this is really good code, or have said, this is really bad code?
Yeah.
Okay?
A lot more of the second, yeah.
So ask the candidate, say, bring some of your code. Let me, you know, whatever you can bring. Now, there are often problems with this because you have proprietary issues and confidentiality and trade secret and lawsuits and things like that. But show me some code you've written. What have you done? What do you do for fun? Yes.
I really liked how one company did it. They did like that conversation thing, but over dinner. They would invite you to dinner. And so it was like 2 hours where it was low stress and kind of just talked and sort of figured out with the team. It was just like 3 people from the team, but that was a really good like spoiler before the actual interview, where they would, after talking, they would do a bunch of research and I would talk about some stuff I liked. I'm like, oh yeah, it's up on GitHub, and they would go and look at that and talk about it the next day, sort of thing.
And by the way, based on both these comments, it's why it may be nice to have projects on a GitHub or somewhere like that. Say, "Yeah, yeah, I've got this code I'm working on. I'm just sort of tinkering on it. Here's what I'm doing. This is what I've got." I keep telling my daughter Crystal she needs to update her LinkedIn page. It still shows her as an undergrad from U, where she graduated from 4 years ago, and she still gets pinged all the time. But back to the dinner. I like the dinner idea because what you want, and DeMarco and Lister are going to talk a lot about this in subsequent chapters, is the team. You have to get along. And that can be harder than you expect. And again, management is kind of like, oh, who cares about a team? It's just, you do this, you do this, you do this, it doesn't matter. You have to trust each other and trust that each other will get her or his work done with sufficient quality and on time. Turnover. This is probably one of the most important things. Number one cause across all industries, why do people leave? Their immediate supervisor or manager.
I actually heard that one.
Oh, yes. And this has been in the news a lot the last couple of years. This is the number one reason why people leave. They can't stand the person they're working for. Bad managers will drive away good people very quickly. Management often, and this gets back to management fundamentally not understanding the intellectual nature of software development. The cost of turnover. When somebody, I mentioned this at Pages, this is an argument, this is why I have arguments with our CEO and our CFO, who would want to sort of, cut costs. Well, let's stop having free soda. It's like, John, Larry, you don't understand. I said, you're spending a couple $100 a month on soda, M&Ms. I said, if one of these engineers walk, we lose months, which means we lose tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. They will walk out with their information, and the time it will take to find someone to replace them, bring them up to speed, and have them learn everything that person has learned up to this date is incredibly expensive. That's about human capital, yeah, whatever. And I have a link to an article on, this is often a problem, keeping, if you have to have layoffs, you want to keep your best people. The problem is, if you're having layoffs, you know what the best people do? They go find new jobs. Like, things are uncertain here. So if you're in a situation, we're not going to go over this in detail because it's going to be a while before any of you losing by attrition. It's okay. It's going to be a while before any of you are in a position where you're going to be making this kind of decision. But keep this in mind. If you have to reduce, you need to make a special effort to keep your best people. Which means you don't want the Dead Sea effect where your best people leave. If you're going to reduce staff and maintain tools and benefits. There's nothing more demoralizing than saying, okay, yeah, we're laying off 5 of you, and by the way, we're getting rid of the vending machine, and we're getting rid of the sofa in the break room, and so on. It's like, you might as well just say this way to the door. People are going to say, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Where possible, you want to keep your high-functioning teams intact. And if you're laying off because of business reasons, you're going to have to say, what projects are we going to do going forward, and what are the best teams to do those projects? And finally, you want to act quickly and decisively because, again, if it's rumors, if it's being drug out, your best people are going to put out their resumes, they're going to find jobs, they're going to leave, and suddenly you're going to lose control of the whole situation. Okay, next class. Oh, I didn't change the dates. Oh, well. You guys have 6 months to do this. And also, I didn't change the assignments here, so yeah. Ignore the slide. Assignments for the next class. You are going to read the next part. Actually, what did I say? Parts
4 and 5.
4 and 5, yeah. I'm going to restagger it. So whatever it says on the schedule, get your architecture and design document done, do a podcast, read Webster 5. The midterm is about 4 weeks off.
Sure.
And like I said, once the I know this is a bit of a crunch, but once the midterm's done, really you've got your projects and a little bit of reading. That's it. That's it. Thank you. See you all next week on Monday. Oh, for the writing, just send me an email to DeMarco. Yep.